Yeah, so my name is Boniface Ogutwakach, human rights defender from Kisumu, working with Kisumu Peace and Justice Center. I think as a human rights defender, ecological justice is a very important aspect in our work. For example, like the forests, we know that there have been a lot of violations that occur in the forest. For example, it has been the main dumping ground for dead bodies. It has been the main site for a lot of criminal activities. So it is very important. We are very worried that our forests are not being taken care of very well, and that is why we even need more clarity when we start hearing that the government has started initiating adoption of forest. What exactly does it mean? Does it mean that they will be taking the forests on our behalf? We need a lot of clarity on that. People are complaining that there's no mukombero, and we know that this is a natural energizer. We need such kind of herbs, fruits and trees planted in large quantities, especially in our forests where anybody can get them. We don't want fences. These fences are just fencing freedom for animals, for people. These fences should be removed so that anybody can access the forest, so that even the people around there can take care of their forests better than anybody who even wants to isolate it for whatever reason. It is very important for us to put in measures, very deliberate measures, to ensure that we adopt green energy, because that is the way to go.
My name is Irene Asua. I co-convene Ecological Justice, which is a collective of community groups reclaiming, transforming and rehabilitating public spaces. Today we joined the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders in Kakamega Forest as part of the Climb for Justice program. As we were going through the forests, of course there's a lot of observations that we've made that are very unfortunate. First of all is you can tell there's a decline of indigenous trees, and they've been replaced by a lot of exotic trees. So a huge part of the forest is basically a dead forest with exotic trees, no butterflies, no birds, no nothing. You can also tell when on our trail back there's encroachment of people into the forest. So it's not clear where really the forest ends and where the settlement ends. There's also a lot of clear spaces that seemed to have had trees, and you can tell some of them have fallen. And I am wondering if there's a plan to replace those trees, and which kind of trees will be replaced. You can also tell there's a lot of stream trails zenye zinaenda zikididimia. You can tell it's a water path, but the water is very little, or the water is not there. So is that we also need to enforce this question of single-use plastic. It was declared already that reserves and parks and forests are not supposed to have single-use plastic. So that enforcement needs to be there. The idea of fencing a forest is not a good idea. It's actually very colonial. Forests are not supposed to be fenced. The government should find mechanisms to work with communities to ensure that communities also feel part of this conservation process, and so that communities also own the forest as part of their ecosystem, because people are also part of the ecosystem. We don't conserve nature without people. We conserve nature with people. So we don't fence forests, we find mechanisms to work with people through the community forest associations. The mechanism is already there with the Kenya Forest Services, to find ways to work with communities to conserve their forests. Yeah, so fencing, first of all, will impact the ecosystem in that there may be animals that are migrating, so you're going to interfere with their corridor. The other thing is that you're going to make communities feel like they are not part of the forest. So you are alienating communities from the forest if you fence it.
My name is Grace Olo. I come from the coastal region of Kenya and also an environmental activist. One of the things I was looking forward to see is we heard that there was adaptation of the forest, part of the forest by the First Lady, and I was interested to know what was the intention of her for the adaptation, what is she going to do? Because as an environmental activist and the issues of climate change, I'm starting to think about the issue of carbon trading. could be an interesting area for the First Lady to adopt this forest. These are natural forests that have been living with the community around this place for a long time. And again, when we talk about the issue of fencing, most of the time when the forests are fenced, there's some things that happen behind the scenes without the community around that place knowing. So why are they fencing this place? Is it to buy the community? Is it there's something going on in the forest that people don't know? In this area, if I'm not wrong, there's a place in Ikolomani where there's a gold mine that was fenced. And we realized that people used to mine gold inside the forest without the community knowing, and they transport the gold outside the county without people knowing what's happening. So these are some of the observations that we are making. What is the intention? And again, we are going forward, we are saying that as environmental activists, we want to look at this issue of adaptation. Today, if you want to adapt a site in the forest, it's just a matter of going to the KFS and then they give you a go-ahead. Can it be made more open so that even the community that lives around this place? For I believe that this forest has a medicinal value to community live that around this place. And there's a need for consulting the Council of Elders that comes from this region when adaptation is happening. Because it's something which is close to their heart. It is something that adds value to their life. That is why this forest is here. So as environmental activists who are here today, who are doing climbing for justice, who are also trying to raise funds for the existence for women, for HRDs in the country, to at least to establish a village where we can always come to reflect and bring our issues together. We think and we believe there's a lot of things that needs to be done, and there's a lot of openness that is supposed to be in this thing of adaptation before anything has been happening here. If you look at the issue of of carbon trading, the exotic trees has a lot of value, and in terms of cultivation and money, it brings a lot of money. How is the community around this place going to benefit when this forest is taken away from them? There's a gap. In fact, there needs to be a clear policy on even how the calculations is done, the issue of carbon trading. Today, I might be having my trees, but I don't know how the calculation is done. So this is some of the things that we see, that if the community is involved and they understand, and there's a awareness that is taking place, so that they understand how this carbon trading is done, how am I going to benefit? What is it that if I do, I'll get more value into my process? So there's a policy gap that needs to be worked on. Remember, now we are talking about climate change. A lot of things are happening. When we were going just to have the climate summit that happened in September, there was a law that was amended within 2 weeks. It was amended within the 2 weeks to fit the summit, but not to fit our needs as a community, as a country.
Waimbie hapo.
Pamoja twasonga.